going. I think maybe I get in a better mood when there's ball. I think my emotions, okay? Honestly, when there's football, I don't know, maybe I'm just in a better mood because I get to watch my favorite sport and my favorite pastime. It takes me away from all the BS that's going on in the world and in my life. Football tonight, right? What is it? Texans and Patriots. Okay. Vikings and Seahawks. Riveting. But it's football, man. Do you know how good those TV broadcasts on the NFL Network will be tonight when it comes to ratings? They're going to be off the charts, I guarantee you. I guarantee you, man. Fantastic to see you guys. Thank you for coming aboard. God, we're loaded today. One of my favorite broadcasters of all time, Brad Nessler, the face of CBS Sports, college football, NFL preseason football. We're going to talk to him at 4:30, and then our friend, Pro Football Hall of Fame from SiriusXM, our friend Howard Balzer will join us at 5:30, and we will talk with him about Dak Prescott's problems that are going on with the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to get to Dak here in a minute. I'll tell you this. How about this? Jalen's trending like this. Dak, I don't know what's going on in Dallas right now. No idea what's going on with the Cowboys right now. And it's a good thing. And all the non-noise that the Eagles make. I love it, man. We'll talk about the no-hitter last night. I thought it was really cool. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I want to say this about Devontae Smith. Dude, this guy is a great teammate. Took a day of practice off to go be with his friend who was going to prison for 3 to 10 years for drunk driving and killing someone. What? He put his reputation out there for his friend, Henry Ruggs. What? People don't put their reputations out on the line like that with so much to lose and how people could see and come up with narratives that aren't the truth. Hey, we live in a society today where people make shit up about anything. Look at him supporting a murder. You know, you can go down there if you want. You're a loser. Because I've heard Devontae make the comment, my heart breaks for everyone involved. And you believe him. I don't know. Of course, everyone knows. No one's sitting there going like this. I'm not talking about defending Henry Ruggs here. I'm talking about Devontae Smith's character. That's a great dude. He's a great dude. You got a bunch of great dudes on that team. That's why they win. They're good people. That's why you can have Jalen Carter on your team. Because of people like Devontae Smith. That's a great dude. Coach Sirianni, Howie, I need to go be with my friend. He needs me. This ain't about football. This is about a friend of his going to prison and having everything that he cherished taken from him. And about the family who lost a loved one. Who does that? How come that story's not being covered more? Oh, I know why. Probably not going to get a lot of clicks for that. Ah, damn it. We got to cover AB or Manziel or one of those train wrecks, Baker Mayfield. Because I don't want you to feel too good about yourselves. Because there's people like him in the NFL also. And there's more of those guys than the ABs and the Aaron Hernandezes. Okay? That's a great dude. Had nothing to do with football. Had everything to do with love and friendship. Hey, when I backed Michael Irvin months ago, had nothing to do with football. broadcasting. Has he had issues in the past? Yes. But he's my friend. And I'm always going to be there for Mike, good or bad. You know why? He's always going to be there for me. You know, I look at our news today. We covered pandemics, an island on fire, politicians taking money, lying, this and Jesus criminy. Please, somebody put a story out there about Devontae Smith and what a great human being he is. Dude, he feels for the family too. I've read the stories. I made sure. I mean, but he wanted to be with his friend. He took a day of practice off in his preparation for an important season to see if the Eagles can get back to the Super Bowl. He thought he'd take a day off of his focus and his life to share it with somebody he shared his life with at Alabama. Cool. But that's not a headliner. But most people will bash him for supporting a murderer. Kevin, because those are the people who look for anything to tear down good people. That's what they do. Of course they're going to do that because they're narrow-minded, low-brow thinking humans out there that their lives suck so bad and they have not accomplished anything in their lives. Those are the people that do that. Or they're jealous. So you say, God bless you. Hope your lives work out well for you. I've learned to do this too. You know, no matter what you do in your life or who you support, one slip up, you know, look at Henry Ruggs. You think he's a bad guy? One moment can ruin your life. Good people make mistakes too. Good people make mistakes. I just thought, man, I wanted to start it off on a note where, man, I'd really love to have Devontae Smith as my teammate because he's going to be there for me. And he's going to be in that foxhole with me, come hell or high water. He's going to be there with me. That's a person you can trust. There is no coincidence that Jalen Hurts and him, Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, all of these guys seem like those dudes. Shit, you could have 3 Jalen Carters on your team. And your locker room was going to be great. I'm going to make this point to you guys. I think the Philadelphia Eagles may have the best culture in the National Football League because of the people that are on that roster today. You have the best culture. I don't know if that's going to translate into any Super Bowls, but I'll tell you what, it must be fantastic to go to work at the NovaCare Center if you're a football player every freaking day because you got people in there you can trust, who you love and who you like and who you want to play with and who you want to live with and be in a community with. Very rarely do you have that in a football locker room. Very rarely do you guys have that in your own businesses. How many people like to go to work every day? Half of us? How many like the work we do, but we hate half the people in it? Half of us? Dude, Devontae Smith, he represents everything that's great with the Eagles, the NFL, and most importantly, Devontae Smith. Get away from the fact that he's a fabulous ball player. He reminds me of this guy. You know, Leroy Selman to me is the greatest football player I've ever seen and one of the most unblockable players I've ever seen. Me, Joe Green calls him the greatest 34 defensive end in the history of the league. Nobody can block him. He's one of the very few guys that is on the all-time college football starting 22 and on the all-time NFL starting 22. He's one of the greatest players to ever live, but he was a better man. I've never seen anything like it. Him and Reggie White were so much alike. I can't believe that guy's personality is that way when he killed people on the field. Maniac, what up, my friend? Okay? Don't let anyone go. He's supporting a murderer. No, he's not. He's supporting a friend in need. Friends are for life, aren't they? You're not supposed to have friends when they're convenient to you. That's not friendship. That's fraudship. Nobody wants a friend when it's convenient. I don't need a friend when things are going well. I need a friend when shit hits the fan. That's when you get a true testament of a guy's character and who he is, and if he is your friend, is when the shit hits the fan. Who's in your corner? You guys all know this. I don't have to tell you this. How many people run and put their heads under the desk anytime all of you are in trouble with anything? Devontae takes a day of practice off, goes and flies across the country to be with his friend who's getting sentenced to 3 to 10. And all of his privileges and all of his freedoms taken from him. And I get it. The other side, Sills, he killed someone. This is justice. No one's debating the justice of it. I'm talking about a friend. Okay? Man, what a great teammate. Dude, that guy walked back on a football field. I might cry for him. I'd be like, man, you're really a great dude. You're really a great dude. That's the stuff that touches you right there. That's the stuff that makes and carries your team and galvanizes your team when you got people like that on your roster. Kudos to him, man. Kudos to his parents. I knew the day I saw when he got the Heisman Trophy, and I saw a community wrap themselves around him and how everyone in the community, when he won the Heisman, and how he thanked God, and everyone in that community was rooting for him. This guy's a great dude. His character, get this, he doesn't have to express his character through his mouth. His actions speak to his character. Man, I'm taken by that guy. It's not a small gesture either. You don't have to do that. What a great, great dude. Love this guy. All right. Let's move on from something that's spectacular on that team. Devontae Smith. I heard the debate on radio this morning in Philly about the Eagles and about them playing their starters in the exhibition season. Let me ask you this, and it was a pretty good debate. I listened to, I went back and forth, actually, listened to both stations. And I was listening to people on how they looked at it. Do you think the Eagles should play many of their starters during the exhibition season? How do you look at that? You think they should play? We're packed today, too. So let's get your thoughts in as quick as you can. JH1 says no. Sue says no. Steven says absolutely not. Dom says last game. Sidham seems to work out for us. Micah, I'm going to get to that here in a second. No, they get the reps in the joint practice. I'm starting to believe that too, JM. Okay? I'm starting to believe that too. Purdy, good afternoon to you. Got to play sometime. Quan, you're all right. You're all right. But here, see what my friend Tone says. Defensive starters should get some reps for sure. Specifically, safeties, linebackers, Carter, Nolan, Smith. Yes, they need reps. Don't play scared. It's the NFL. I wish we could see those joint practices. Jeff, you can turn on the NFL Network. Many of them will do cut-ins when they're doing those joint practices. And if you go, you're not going to see all of the joint practices, but if you go on many teams' websites or a Twitter page, you can see some of the reps and some of the things that they're doing. Only the ones who need more reps, Jacoby. Here's what I'm going to say to this. The NFL is a routine thing, and the Eagles have a routine now. They put a lot of their starters in the controlled scrimmage environment. They don't really play their starters, and it's worked. Now, do I want Jacoby playing? Do I want Jalen Carter getting reps? Do I want to see the communication skill that they're going to need when absolutely, absolutely. However, they're in a routine now that's working and winning. Why break it? Until it doesn't work, and you're not getting the production you need on the field, why do it any different than what you've been doing the last 2 years? Why would you change that? Now, do circumstances change? Last 2 years, you guys were more experienced. This year, you're not. It really is a fine edge. It really is on how you're looking at this. Okay? It really is. Not scared just yet. Unnecessary games, unnecessary risk for what? And now, Philly, I agree with you. I got it. Jacoby Dean needs to be in there. He does, Bob. But I want to put him in a controlled environment too. So I can stop and talk to him and say, see, can I tell you that I think the biggest problem that he's going to have right away, before we even find out, and many of you are dead on with this, Seals, how can you talk about his play when you haven't seen him play? Okay, well, we're going to wait until we see him play then for that. But I will say this, I think the problems that he's going to have is recognition, false steps, and communication. That's common sense. Why is that? Well, he hasn't been on the field. In theory, he's really never played any NFL reps. 34 reps. He's not really playing. Okay? But the Eagles are in a routine right now. So I heard all these people talking, how you got to get the reps. And no one's wrong. But they've had success the last 2 years with this formula. Until that formula is showing no success, I would say this then. Hey, end of the day, okay? End of the day, don't do it. Play him in the controlled scrimmages, okay? So, I was listening to everyone. Hey, Seals, you make a point, but I believe Jacoby Dean will do okay this year. Eagle, we'll see. I just don't think he's going to be the guy. I think he's being put and force-fed into a really tough situation. If you had better experience up front in front of him, I would probably tend to agree with you. But you have inexperience behind him and in front of him. And to me, I think that's going to be a remedy for disaster. And he's never really played. You're asking a lot to replace. And on top of that, then you have to replace 100 solo tackles on 160 tackles. He's not going to do that. And he really doesn't have a lot of quality guys around him at the linebacker position. If he had, look, to me, and I've said this the last 3 days, TJ Edwards and Jacoby Dean would have been a great tandem. Would have been a great tandem. Okay? Would have been a great tandem. Instead, Nicholas Morrow, putting your hopes on Miles Jack, Zach Cunningham, guys who've been on the field 2 days. All of a sudden now, these guys are Pro Bowlers, according to some, when no one wanted them. The Eagles didn't sign them because they wanted them. Do you guys understand the difference in where we are in free agency now when you sign someone? The Eagles didn't sign him because they wanted him. They signed him because they had to. They signed him because they had to. There's a far different cry when you're talking about bringing a free agent in. And when you're signing Zach Cunningham or Miles Jack, you didn't want these guys. You didn't want them. You signed it because you had to. Because you started watching on film. To me, the problem I think that they're witnessing is that guys are not understanding what's being asked of them. And you're inexperienced, and Dean's missed a lot. Back on practice, from what I understand today. Okay? Price for White goes up the further into the season you go. I think I personally, JM, I think that if you wait until the offseason, that's when the price will go up. Because the Bucs will panic. The Buccaneers don't want to. The reason Baker Mayfield, and he's talking Devin White, obviously. The reason that Baker Mayfield is a starting quarterback in Tampa is because Tampa doesn't want to win games. Tampa's not trying to win games. Tampa's trying to lose games and not piss their fan base off too bad to try to get into the top 10 of the draft next year so they can take the kid from UNC. They're not going to get Caleb. They may get a shot at Caleb, depending on who trades for Devin White. I think Mike Evans' name could be on the trading block as well. But they don't want to win games in Tampa. Just take a look around the league. You really think they want to win games in Tampa? Right? Hell no, not with those quarterbacks. You're not looking to win a ball game there. Look at the shitty places that have shitty quarterbacks that are going into games this year. You're not trying to win. You either have rookie you took in the draft or you got a guy that you're just trying to lose ball games with. What's the point of going 6-10 and signing a legitimate quarterback when you can get into the draft maybe and better your team next year and for the next 3 years? Why would I do that? I'll take a year of suck-ass football if I could get a top-flight quarterback in next year's draft. Common sense tells you that. Can you trade for a linebacker midseason? Of course you can. Ask the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos if you could do that, Kev. Did they not trade Chubb to the Dolphins from Denver? He's an edge rusher making $23 million a year. Now, again, the problem that you have there is you need to manipulate your cap around if you're going to do shit like that. And that's a really tough thing. Now, with these guys they just signed, they probably got $9 million left on their salary cap. They can make a move. And I don't know what Devin – hey, Tone, I don't know what Devin White's contract is for 2023. It is not $20 million, but he's going to command that this coming offseason. He's going to command 20. North of 20. He's going to get paid like Roquan Smith. He's 25 years old. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's a captain of a team. He's going to get paid handsomely. There's going to be a team out there that's going to put a lot of money in a bag of money in front of him. Okay? He's probably making like $14 million maybe. 11.7 and 23. Okay. 11.7. Dude, I'll tell you what, if someone told me, hey, Sills, we could solidify the Eagle defense for 2023 with Devin White, I would say this. I'd give this to the Buccaneers. Hey, Bucs, you pick up half that contract, I'll give you a second rounder for him this year and next year for Devin White. Can't give you a one for him. I'm going to need it. I'm going to need it. Because I'm going to have some holes on that side of the ball. I'm going to need a You're going to need a corner in next year's April draft. Let's throw that out now. You're going to need a corner. A priority will be a corner in the first round next year. So if you're going to start looking for positions and players in this upcoming college football season, if I were you, you're going to need a corner. That's the position you're going to go with because that's a priority position on the Eagles. It's not safety. It's not linebacker. It's corner, edge rusher, tackles, line, O-line, receivers, quarterback, tight end. Those are your premium positions that the Eagles put money out. This is what they do. I pay these positions, and I don't pay you. You know exactly where you stand. Okay? Someone goes like this, Ringo. Hey, he may be it. I'm talking about a first-round draft choice, not a third. You may get lucky and land, and Ringo may turn out to be the next. But usually later round picks take a little bit more time for development. That's why they're later round picks. Christian Gonzalez is probably the other pick that the Eagles could have taken at 10. Because they're going to need that position. Carter Fell. Anyone with a brain cell takes him. Anyone with a brain cell takes him. Bear from Philly, your thoughts on what John Elway and Eli Manning did at the draft. I thought being able to get a quarterback to make a bad team better. And are there rules to place against that? Philly, those guys, here's the case. Bear, I have no problem. Why do you think John Elway didn't want to go to the Colts? And why do you think Eli Manning didn't want to go to the Chargers? Bear, you answer your own question. Horrible ownership. Horrible ownership. Okay? It wasn't the Spanos family. It was Gene Klein who owned the Chargers. He was a terrible owner. Gene Klein sold the Chargers to the Spanos family. $55 million. How's that for you? Things right now at about $6 or $5 billion value. The Chargers. Gene Klein owned it. And Jack Elway, the father of John Elway, who coached him at Stanford, did not want him to go there. I've had on this program, I've had Archie Manning on. Archie Manning goes, we're not sending our kid to the Spanos family. Well, what happened? Eli won 2 Super Bowls in New York because you had Jerry Reese there and you had Tom Coughlin. Instead, he would have went to the San Diego Chargers. Chargers fire a 14-2 Marty Schottenheimer because A.J. Smith was the GM and they liked the GM more than the coach. Remember, these are the same people that got Drew Brees destroyed in the final game of a season that meant nothing and cost them Drew. Can you imagine if Drew Brees had been healthy? Think about this, for instance. If Gene, when he sold this to the Spanos family, if Drew Brees had been healthy and they had kept Drew Brees, San Diego may still have the Chargers because they'd have won a Super Bowl. Ownership. Yeah, of course he was a general manager of the Colts, and he didn't even want to make the call. I think he resigned 3 days later or 4 days later. He didn't even want to make the call. He couldn't do it because Bob Irsay came in and said, trade him. And he goes, I'm not trading him. Bob Irsay made the deal. Ernie Accorsi, who I knew, didn't want to do it. It was Bob Irsay. Dude, think of that. The apple didn't fall from the tree when it came to Jim Irsay and Bob Irsay. They're both shitty owners. There's no coincidence. Once they moved out of Baltimore, another team went in there and won Super Bowls. You were never going to win Super Bowls with the Accorsi or with the Irsay family. Okay? Well, they got one. with Peyton. Only because of Peyton. So let me get into our topics. Pretty funny. Jason Cole wrote a whole biography glorifying Elway, then followed it up with a book chastising parents for looking out for their kids' best sports opportunities. Everyone's a critic, JM. Everyone's a critic. All right. It's time, folks. We're going to talk Dak here in a minute, too. It's time. Exhibition football starts today. We have our list of our top 10 quarterbacks. We do it weekly. Starts today. Starts here in a minute after Louisville Cards. I saw Jordan Davis' video. He may lose his spot in the rotation with that get off to Milton Williams. The Kobe Dean spot is going to Jack, Miles Jack. See, hey, I want to wait and I'm not going to say any more on Jordan Davis. I want to see him play. I've already made my statements on him. Louisville, I've already made my statement on him. He's a good football player. Is he a star? No. Will he be a star? No. Will he be good? Yes. Will he be better than Hollis Thomas? I don't know. Will he be better than Corey Simon? Do you think that Jordan Davis will be better than Corey Simon? Those are two good football players. Those are productive football players who played on really good defensive fronts. Hollis Thomas and Corey Simon. You see Jordan Davis being better than Corey Simon. I don't. I don't. I don't. Not really the best get-off, like you said. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a great player. Okay? I've heard he's looked great in camp. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that at all. Who told you that? Let me guess. Elliott Spitzer, Pauly Shore. Okay. Simon was the 7th pick. I think he was a top 10 pick. All right. You know what? Before I get to Jalen Hurts and where I see him in the NFL right now, let me ask you about Dak first. You think the Cowboys have lost confidence in Prescott? Why do I feel today on August 10th, talking to everyone and people contacting me and talking to me, Sills, have you ever seen Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones so critical of a quarterback? And I said no. And I've known these guys since they've owned a team. Actually, I've known them prior to them owning the Cowboys. I've never seen them put pressure on a player like this. Actually, I've actually never seen them talk as publicly as they are about their team without trashing it. Zach Martin, you're not getting any money. We have to give money to CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, Zach Martin? I don't see it. CeeDee Lamb? Zach Martin? CeeDee Lamb is going to the OU Hall of Fame. Zach Martin's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't see it. We got to give Michael Parsons money. I get that. But that's next year. Dak, I've said it. He is the Eagle killer. He is the Eagle killer. But the picks in practice, boy, is Mike McCarthy doing this and making him, is this what we're doing here? Is it Mike McCarthy that has put the pressure on him and the Cowboys are siding with the head coach? And now that the head coach is play calling, the head coach is the difference now. Dak Prescott is not a turnover machine. He looks like he's picked up. And by the way, someone asked me this, Sills, it's practice. I said, yeah, but don't coaches value practice more since you have so limited of these things? Coaches value practice. You know, the media may not, fans may not. But I think if you're doing shit in practice bad and you're doing it on a daily basis, I think you lose confidence in that guy. Hey, man, if you're not helping your team, like, what's the one thing that Jalen Hurts is doing right now in camp? I saw Cam Jurgens make a comment about him. It's so great when the richest player on our team is our hardest worker on our team. The guy who's there every moment and working his ass off. Let me say, man, there's nothing more. There's so few times that you have a superstar that's your hardest worker. Most of the time, those guys are jackasses. Look at Jordan. How many people think in here you'd love playing with Jordan? You wouldn't. Because if you didn't do what he said, he'd punch you in the eye. That's Steve Kerr. See, back then, there was no social media. Jordan would have been vilified. All the shit that he said to his players, all the shit that he did to his teammates, how he pushed them. Does it really come off that no one really likes Michael Jordan that played with him in Chicago? Have you ever heard anybody say that they really love Michael Jordan who played with him? Has anybody ever said, man, I love playing with Jordan? Usually those kind of guys are assholes. And it's an asshole environment. Because you're always on your toes with guys like that. Jalen has made it so it's fun to go to work too. It's rare when you got people like that. Tom Brady too. Again, I can't believe what I'm going to say again. You know what, Tone? I don't think I've ever seen and they're so different in style. I don't think I've ever seen a player that has the same characteristics as Tom Brady other than Jalen Hurts. I'm not talking about style. I'm just the way they are. I mean, Tom Brady could talk to a murderer or talk to the fourth team wide receiver or defensive back on the team. If Dak is an Eagle killer, he's also a Cowboy killer. LJ, pretty fair. Okay? That attitude works when you're winning, not so much when you're 6-11. Right. Fly goes Dennis Rodman. It's funny. Everyone on the basketball team hated Dennis Rodman, but Michael Jordan. You think there's any coincidence to that? Probably not. Yeah, picking Montana. Montana was a weird guy. He's just a weird dude. It was almost like, he had this crazy mentality that get him on a football field. His ability was so spectacular. I mean, he just was a spectacular player. Just when I see Dak now, man, I mean, I think, is the pressure getting to him? You think the pressure's getting to Prescott? Bear from Philly, I would say Dak loses both games to the Eagles and don't make the playoffs. He's gone my treat at the Capitol Grill. KOP. Thank you, brother. No, he's just another Kirk Cousins. I think the pressure's gotten to this guy. Yeah, Chuck, that is hey, Chuck, I was on the sidelines for that Super Bowl. Kevin Fagan had given me tickets to that Super Bowl in Miami. And Kevin Fagan was on the sideline. He goes, he's going in. got a 10-yard penalty or a 15-yard penalty. They had to go 92 yards or something in less than 2 minutes to win the Super Bowl. Guy was stupid great. It's either McCarthy or Dak. One of them got to go for the Cowboys. The Cowboys might be in turmoil now. That's a good thing. You don't have Zach Martin. Prescott's throwing picks every day now. Teammates are talking shit to him. If it's one thing I'm overlooking it, when it's 10 things, man, the Cowboys seemingly are just with a ton of pressure on them this year. And I do think it comes from I do think it comes from the head football coach. I do. If Dak loses to the Eagles twice and doesn't make the playoffs, he's gone. I agree with you, Dom. I agree. By the way, I think both McCarthy and the quarterback could be gone if they don't win this year and go far. I think the Dallas Cowboys have to make it to the NFC title game, and if they don't, I think both McCarthy and Prescott are gone. Why pay them? What's the point? Right? What's the point? All right. Here, we do this weekly. And this is the first week of football. Not going to see a lot of these guys. I think we're going to see some of these guys. But we're not going to see a lot of these guys. And for the week of August 10th, I do this every year. I've been doing this now for about 5 years now. I put my top 10 quarterbacks together and how I see where they are. And by the way, this is just like a college football poll. It goes up and down. Okay? It goes up and down. I look at talent. I look at what you mean to your team. I look at it if you're carrying your team. I look at who you play. I look at, now obviously we're in preseason here, so again, it's a little tougher. I look at the conference you're in. It's fluid. I like it. Yes, very fluid. Okay? And I look at 10 because you could be outside this thing and still be a pretty decent quarterback. But again, here, I'll just tell you, Brock Purdy's not going to be in a list like this. He's not. He's not going to be on a list like this for me. Not for a while. I want to see this guy at least play 16 ball games in his career before we start making that assessment whether or not he's the answer in San Francisco. Okay? Here we go. I said this yesterday to you guys. I don't know what it is about Jared Goff, but he's a winner. Coaches love him. Players love him. His teammates. He wins. Just like Jalen Hurts, he's taken a team to a Super Bowl too. Did they lose that game 14-7? So he lost to the Patriots 14-7, right? Something like, am I right when I say that? Or was it 14-3 that they lost that Super Bowl? I forget what the stats were in that game. It was one of the worst offensive football teams that played together in a Super Bowl of all time. Was it like 14-3 or something like that? Right? I don't believe they even scored an offensive touchdown in that game. It was terrible. McVay would rectify it and turn around and win a Super Bowl a couple years later with Matthew Stafford. But, yeah, I'm with you, LJ. That was one of the worst Super Bowls of all time, was that Rams and Patriots Super Bowl. 13-3, that's it. It was just ugly, man. I mean, you talk about like one of the worst games in the history of that series, the Super Bowl. That had to be the worst game of all time. And here's the deal. Jared Goff, everywhere he goes, he wins. Gets some good coaching. He's turned the Lions around. He's turned the shitty Lions around. Something Matthew Stafford could not do. Dude. Hey, could somebody do me a favor? What's his record in the postseason, too? I mean, let's see. He got to a Super Bowl. It can't be that bad. He might actually have a postseason record that's better than Lamar. I mean, he had to have won at least, he's got to be at least 3-3 or 3-4. He's 2-3. He's 2-3 in the postseason. That's not horrible. It's a better win percentage than Dan Marino. Golf's 3-3. Dude, that's not horrible. Especially when you look at both Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, one game above 500. And you look at Russell Wilson, he's 9-7. That's not horrible. So I got him at 10. I hated this player. I couldn't stand him. I got him 10th. Kudos to you, dude. I got Russell Wilson at 9. And do you know why I put him at 9? Why would anyone put Russell Wilson in a top 10? Why do you think that is? Why would you put Russell Wilson in a top 10? You guys have any idea why? You got to give him the benefit of his career before you say this. Let's see him do it again. And this one is not like Jalen Hurts. Sierra's is a good reason to have him in the top 10. That's a good reason. Larger sample size of being great than bad. Exactly, Tone. There's too much good work for me to sit here and go, you know what's funny? Many of you don't apply that to Hurts. There's way more sample size to sit here and go like this about Russell Wilson. That guy doesn't suck. But if he sucks again, Houston, we have a problem. And more notably, Denver, we have a problem. So he gets the benefit of the doubt. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback on August 10th. Okay? He gets the benefit. I got him at 9. I got Trevor Lawrence at 8, and here's why. If you walk down the stairs to your personnel department and you tell your personnel department, this is what I want my quarterback to look like. 6'5", 220 pounds, a rocket arm, won a ton of football games. I want a winner. I want someone to look like who? Russ. You want him to look like Trevor Lawrence. I was really surprised he had a down season. We'll see what happens this year. Still starts on game when listed as RB1. I have that too, LJ. I promise I'll get to that. Remember when you wanted us to trade for Wilson? Remember 007? See how 007 doesn't tell you the truth? The Eagles and the Seahawks had worked a deal out. Russell Wilson rejected it. You mean that too? Eagles and Seahawks had worked a deal out to trade Russell Wilson. Wilson vetoed it. So, yeah, I agree with Howie. Yeah. Did you forget that too? Because that's also part of it. You forgot that, didn't you? See, he just wanted to put me in there. But his general manager made a deal, had a deal on the table. Remember when you wanted him? Yeah, like your GM did. Make sure you finish the things when you're saying shit to me. Okay? Because that's half the story. Trevor Trevor Lawrence is everything you want. I think, if I'm not mistaken, how many games did he lose in college? One? Did he lose one game in college? I don't think he lost a game in high school. Had a horrific – look what bad coaching does to you. Then he gets Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson turns his career back around. Look at that. Look what Doug did to him. Okay, was 38-2 in college. And if I'm not mistaken, blew the doorknobs off Hurts in a title game. Everything you want. Look at shitty coaching look what Doug's done. I wonder if Doug would have done the same thing with Hurts. You know, in hindsight, do you think he would have Hurts where Hurts is today? I don't know. But you know what? I think you have to probably give him the benefit. Then again, he failed with Wentz. Doug Peterson failed with Wentz. So, well, yeah. Or incomplete. I don't know how you would look at that. Did Doug Peterson – what was the job that Doug Peterson did with Carson Wentz, you think? What would you give him a grade? What would you give him? What would you give him? How did Doug do? Because look what Doug's doing now. Did Doug get the most out of Carson? Probably. Right? Probably. B+. Okay. That was an A+ coaching job he did with Trevor Lawrence last year. Trevor Lawrence looks like a superstar on the horizon. I mean, he's one of those guys that I think is going to move up this list dramatically. Okay? Everything I want my quarterback to look like, he's it. He's it. I like him. I like him a lot. And they're putting good talent around him. Okay? Number 7. I have at number 7, I have Justin Herbert. Everything you guys say about him is true. Let me ask you this. How many people, and now you're too young for this name, Tone, but you're not for the second name. So you have Dan Fouts and Phillip Rivers, and you don't win shit with them guys. And now you have Justin Herbert. Is it an organizational thing that's the problem with the Chargers? Because it can't be those two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and now you got a guy who's one of the highest paid people in American sports. It can't be those guys, can it? He was headed to the playoffs, but once Wentz ended up hurt, and Foles had to step in again. Yes, that's the story. I mean, it's an organizational thing, isn't it, in Los Angeles with the Chargers? Right? It's organizational. I don't think you could keep – hey, this is the third quarterback that has Hall of Fame potential talent in Justin Herbert. And you're not winning enough, right? You had Dan Fouts, Phillip Rivers, and now this guy. Shit, you had Drew Brees. So wait a minute. Let me get this right. You have had Dan Fouts, Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, and Drew Brees, and you can't get it right. That's got to be organizational. The Eagles have never had quarterbacks like that in progression. Never. Never had quarterbacks like that. Shit. There's a ton of teams that – look at the Dolphins since Marino. And really prior Marino. Hey, Ronald, Brees was a Pro Bowler with the Chargers in San Diego. John Hadle. Quan, I think Hadel did win the championship when they were still in Los Angeles, though. But that was under Baron Hilton. When Baron Hilton owned the team. And they were in the AFL then. That's the only championship the Chargers have ever won. I think they got to an AFC championship game once and then went to the Super Bowl and got destroyed by the Niners. That's it. But I think the organization, if you're Justin Herbert, hey, it's great to get paid with the Chargers. It's great to play in LA. But eventually, winning's got to matter, son. It's got to matter, man. Number 6. I have Lamar Jackson. Maybe of all the quarterbacks that are on this list, he's maybe the quarterback that I'm looking forward to the most to watch this year. Will he be healthy? Will he improve under Todd Monken, what they're doing now? How's he going to look with Odell Beckham and with Zay Flowers? How's the tight end and that threesome going to look with Lamar? Are they going to be able to run the ball? They're going to play better defense. Supposedly, Jadeveon Clowney was offered a contract today by the Ravens. They're going to keep adding as much personnel as they possibly can on that side of the football. They've got to get better. They got to run the ball, too. John Harbaugh is a spectacular coach. I think John Harbaugh is a better coach than Jim Harbaugh. Okay? I think Lamar Jackson, I cannot wait to watch Lamar Jackson. We're doing my top 10, the first list of the year, quarterbacks in the league. Goff 10, Russell Wilson 9, Trevor Lawrence 8, Justin Herbert 7, Lamar Jackson 6. Number 5. Tone, I'm gonna get through the list before we take a time out. Number 5. I have Jalen Hurts here. Last year, he wasn't even near this. Last year, your football team had him maybe not even the guy of the future. And to see him at 5, everything, get this, of all the players on this list, he could catapult himself up to 2 by midseason. The way he's growing and how people see him, this is all going to come down to his team, though, too. And remember this, of all the players on this list, he's got the best football team or the best offense. He's got the best offense on this. Okay? Number 4, I'm putting Aaron Rodgers here. Aaron Rodgers is the most accomplished quarterback in the league today, next to Mahomes. I think they're going to have troubles at offensive tackle. I saw a little bit of the film of their offensive tackles. I think they're going to struggle. And of all the guys that are on this list, Hurts is going to be the guy that's going to continue to rise. If there's one guy on this list that I think is going to fall, I think it's going to be Rodgers. And I happen to agree with JM. I think that offensive line is going to be his demise. Number 3, I have arguably, and like Mel Kiper says, and just like every personnel person on the planet says, Josh Allen is one of the most gifted players to come out of college since Andrew Luck, and one of the most skilled players that we have seen come out of college. As many people say, he's in a better division. He's got lesser talent around him than what a lot of these quarterbacks do. He was 13-3 last year, threw 35 touchdowns, had had like 11 or 12 picks, but again, throws the ball 600 times. And there's no running game. He's got one wide out, and no tight end. And they went 13-3. He plays a little smarter. What's stopping him? What's his ceiling? Sorry. I'm not even going to sit around here, go back and forth with you on a debate on this, because I'm not. He's played all 17 games. He don't miss games like other quarterbacks do. His upside is better, in my opinion, than Patrick Mahomes. Throws a deeper pass, a bigger arm. He just needs to get it done. He has no talent around him but Diggs. That's it. The other guy's not bad, but he has nothing. Zero. There's no A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert or offensive line like that. There's none of that. And he's in the AFC. And he's beaten Mahomes. He's beaten Lamar Jackson. He's beaten Burrow. He's beaten all them guys. Jalen's never beaten any of them guys. I got Burrow too. Dude, I get it. It's a lower extremity injury. And we're starting to see these things, though. Okay? I got Joe Burrow too. 2 straight AFC title games, AFC championship game. In the last 2 years, he's been to both. And he's turned the culture around in Cincinnati. That's got to be considered one of the worst. And there's Mahomes. Has nothing, shouldn't say nothing, has Kelsey. A good line. Better than what people give it credit for. Okay? That kid Creed can play. He can play. And you have Andy Reid. So here's my list. And here's the 10. As you see, there's a lot of guys off this list that have a lot of work to do. Dak's not on this list. Jared Goff, Russell Wilson. Who would have thought that a year ago, that Dak wouldn't be a top 10 quarterback and Hurts is a top 5 guy? Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts at 5, Rodgers at 4, Allen at 3, Burrow at 2, Mahomes at 1. That's my 2023 week 1 as we start the exhibition season tonight. I do want to talk about Kenneth Gainwell being named RB1. I'll do that at the top. My friend, I love him to death. Brad Nessler, the voice of CBS Sports College Football, will join us at 4:30. Also, Howard Balzer from SiriusXM Radio will join us. Hall of Fame voter, 5:30. We'll talk some NFL with him. We'll get his take on Jalen Hurts and also the race for the NFC. We'll get his thoughts. That'll be an hour. And, by the way, give us a lowdown on what's going on with Arizona out there with Jonathan Gannon. So we'll get his thoughts on that. Please hit the like button. Hour number 2 coming up. Keep it here on the National Football Show.